So yeah, we're hoping that we didn't just tear up a bunch of the alfalfa and ruin our crop. So this video actually started yesterday, but it was I would say between 20 and 30 mile an hour winds pretty consistently, with gusts probably up to 50 most of the day. So there was no way that I was going to be able to talk, that you would be able to understand me. But anyway, this is the spring tooth we bought once upon a time when we first got out here. And I don't know what's wrong with it or why it didn't work. Maybe the shape of the teeth, maybe it's not long enough. So anyway, we found one at an auction and bid on it and won. So then we have this one. And so Sam spent all week working really hard to replace missing teeth and get all the new brackets and everything, got it all put together, and was so excited to go spring tooth the field, because I think it was to help smooth out the gopher mounds, but then also maybe kind of spread the cow manure around. I don't remember. Somebody who came and got hay from us told us to spring tooth it and it wouldn't care, and it makes, I don't know, the alfalfa looks at it like a challenge or something and is like, okay, well, you want to scruff me up, I'll just grow back stronger or something. So Sam came out yesterday, like I said, in the giant winds and started going over the field. And then he sent me a text that said, I think the spring tooth might be too aggressive, because it's almost like it's trying to plow rather, and this is just grass and weeds and stuff on the edge of the field. This isn't really alfalfa. I mean, there's some you can see, but not a lot, and not the main part of it. But yeah, it's definitely digging into the ground. And so yesterday evening, we kind of drove around just to kind of look, and he raised it up on the 3-point a little bit, but it's still getting some of the crown of the alfalfa, some of the roots in the crown, which is not necessarily good for the alfalfa. So he took the spring tooth off and tried just the harrow disc harrow. What is it called? Harrow, I think. There might be another word for it. I'll see if there's another word that I'm not remembering. But anyway, so we put that on there and tried that a little bit, and I don't think it had enough pressure on it. So then he ended up putting some semi-truck tires on it, and he feels like that's doing a better job. So he's out right now doing the corners, and hopefully he'll be done with that pretty soon. And then I get to get in the tractor and drive around and try to smooth out some of the dirt. So we're hoping that it scuffs up the alfalfa just enough to make it want to fight back and grow. Because that's what I think, like I said, that's what I'm pretty sure somebody told us. The track filler seems to have done a pretty awesome job, and a lot of these are much more filled in than they were before. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we get water on them and it kind of turns to mud, and if it'll kind of help pack it down, or if it just makes big giant mud tracks again. The little pivot, when he started it just to walk it around completely dry, did get stuck in the dirt somewhere. So hopefully with water it'll work better. Yeah, so we're just, I still want to call it a drag harrow, but I don't know if that's right. So we're going to skip the spring tooth for now, just go with the drag harrow, and hopefully it'll flatten out a lot of the gopher mounds, badger mounds, all of that kind of stuff, spread out some of the cow manure for fertilizer. And then next week, no, yes, next week when I'm on spring break, hopefully the weather will be nice enough that I can get out and start working on gopher management. And it'll be easier to tell kind of where the new mounds are or the new locations versus the old stuff where they just kind of wreaked havoc all winter, but they're old mounds that aren't being used anymore. Anyway, hopefully it'll just help me be able to focus and concentrate. See, like this probably isn't good. Oh yeah, we're hoping that we didn't just tear up a bunch of the alfalfa and ruin our crop. If you just scuff up the top, it's probably okay, but when you rip the whole root ball structure, everything out of the ground, it probably isn't going to grow very well. But luckily it's not doing this in very many places. It is cool how long the roots are, though. I've heard that alfalfa makes really long roots. That's just really cool to see it. But I guess we won't really know until we get done with the process and see how it all starts growing in the next little bit. So fingers crossed it's as resilient as people say it is. I guess we never really got a winter, and we're not really ever going to. The official start of spring, I believe, is Friday, and next week we're going to have temperatures close to 80. So, I mean, forecasts can change and everything, but that's just kind of where we're at right now. So yeah, just driving over the field, trying to kind of scuff up the alfalfa a little bit, get it motivated to grow, and yeah, smooth the ground out a bit. And I think next year, I don't know, you know how our plans change. We have great ideas and then reality happens, but I think we're already anticipating that next year at the end of the season, after our last cutting, that's when we'll drive the spring tooth around and probably drag harrow it then. And then I don't know if we'll just drag harrow it again in the spring, maybe a little bit earlier in the spring, but we would have done it earlier than now, except we didn't want to do it when everything was like frosted and frozen and stuff. So while we haven't really had a winter, we've had just enough wet to make it where we didn't want to be out, driving around in the mud and stuff. So anyway, that's just kind of what we're doing and where we're at, and hopefully it'll work well, and hopefully I get to take a turn and drive on the tractor pretty soon. So keep your fingers crossed for me and stay tuned. I don't know how well the video is going to show it, but the ground is very rough and bouncy out here, which is why we're doing this. And there are a ton of gopher mounds, which is why we're doing this. And yeah, I don't know, it might just be me, but I feel like the part that hasn't been done versus the part that has been done, oh my goodness, that was a big bounce. The part that has been done, I feel like just looks all bright and green and happy to have been combed. And then, yeah, then there's the part that hasn't been done yet, so it's still waiting its turn. There is large portions where there's just not a lot of alfalfa, and I don't know if that's places where like the water, like a nozzle came off the pivot, one of the pivot nozzles came off and it just kind of dug a trench with water, or if it's from gophers eating, because I feel like they eat the roots of the alfalfa plant. So just places where there's been large colonies of gophers having eaten kind of all the roots in the area. It kind of killed off a lot of the plants. Because this is only our this will be the 3rd year with the alfalfa. So we were hoping to get 5 to 7, I feel like. And I think depending on how well this all helps, I don't know if that's good grammar, if this helps kind of rejuvenate the alfalfa or kind of helps us get a better control of the gophers, but I'm sure we'll get to 5. I don't know if we'll get to 7. Sorry, I have to, it's not quite as precise as having to line up like on windrows, but I'm still trying to control my rabbit turtle switch throttle lever and stay, whoops, wrong way, around 2,000 RPM. And going up some of these bigger hills, sometimes you need to give it a little bit more throttle and bouncing. Sorry. So little more rabbit, little less turtle. Just keep it around 2,000 RPM. And yeah, but it's, like I said, it's nice to see the gopher mounds getting knocked down. It'll be interesting to see, what is that? Oh, that was a little bird. I thought it was a mouse. It'll be interesting to see when we come out here to mow and things, if this will have helped kind of flatten anything out, smooth anything out, because it's a little rough in a few places. And then, yeah, here's a whole other patch that's just doesn't really have anything in it. So my goal is to do a much better job of controlling the gophers this year, and hopefully I can get a start on it in the next week or so and go from there. But there are large sections where they've just built a whole colony out here. So, but yeah, I think if we make this part of our yearly routine and maybe do it later or at the end of the season, and then, I don't know, maybe just run the dry harrow over it at the beginning of the year. I don't really know for sure, but anyway, the alfalfa's pretty, being all nice and combed. Sorry, I'm got to downshift for the road. Because it's way too bumpy to try to go at a higher rate of speed. So, anyway, that's what we're doing and why we're doing it, and I'm super glad to be back in the tractor and getting to practice my turns. And it's a lot easier not having the rake behind me. I can turn a lot sharper, and so that's gonna hopefully help me just get down the process a little bit better, so that when I do have the rake behind me, maybe I will be able to stay in the higher gear and turn at the same time and not have to downshift at the top of every hill. It is a little scarier over there because, I don't want to hit the pivot, but I'm sure with practice and time I'll get better at it. So that's what this is right now. It's just practice and time. It's just up there doing its thing and sitting out around and knocking down the broken holes. So that's where we're at. Okay, I finished dragging the big pivot, went inside, got dinner started, coming back outside to go start on the little pivot. Sam is doing maintenance on the truck, changing oil and checking tranny fluid and all those things. And then he's gonna come out and take over tractoring, and I'll go back inside and finish dinner. And then probably tomorrow, first part of next week, probably maybe he'll finish dragging the little pivot. So that's pretty much where we're at. I think it looks amazing. Just happy, green, healthy, fluffy alfalfa. And right at this very moment, almost no gopher mounds. So count that as a win and go from there. So thanks for watching.